Hi everyone, welcome to Mompreneur Space live show podcast where I interview inspiring moms from all around the world so that you can learn from them how they overcome their challenges and struggles. I'm your host, Kenneth Chu, and today is 109 episode of Mompreneur Space live show podcast. This podcast started with a very simple thought of sharing inspiring mompreneur story so that aspiring mompreneurs like you will be able to resonate and start to make a difference in your life or in your family's life. I've met and come across a lot of amazing mompreneurs stories in the past 5 years, which I'm very blessed to have be able to share their stories with you guys. Today's guest is an amazing mompreneur who have the chance to connect with on LinkedIn, and I was very blessed that she invited me to be one of the male advocates for her Women of the Future initiative, where they featured 100 women in tech and Web3. In this episode, we will be talking about Women of the Future. Sue Rooney is a mother of three and is an accomplished professional with extensive experience in advertising, communication, and publishing. Her career spans over 2 decades, during which she has honed her skills and gained a deep understanding of creating effective campaigns, compelling content, and engaging communication strategies. Currently, her focus is on the Women of the Future initiative aimed at showcasing the inspiring stories of women leaders and changemakers in tech. Sue is a strong advocate for equality and believes in promoting diversity and inclusivity in all aspects of her personal and professional life. She strives to make a positive impact on the world by empowering women and supporting their journey towards success. So without further ado, let me welcome Sue. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Kenneth. Wonderful to be here. Thank you so much.
Same here. Thank you very much, and good morning to you from the other side of the planet. Thank you. So once again, thank you for making time to come onto my show. I think it has been a while, and also thank you for appointing me or being nominated as one of the male advocate in your edition one. So before we move on further, right, maybe you can do a short introduction of yourself to share with everyone. Where are you from, and currently what are you doing?
Thank you, Kenneth. Well, it's wonderful to be here, and thank you for being part of our first edition as a male advocate. So I'm Sue Rooney. I was born in South Africa and spent many years growing up and the beginning of my career in South Africa, where I spent a lot of time in advertising. So my background is very much about brand strategy and communication and media strategy. But above all else, what I truly believe is in the power of communication, the ability to use messaging to influence or change behavior. And that sort of led me down the path that I've been on, where I am now in the publishing world and championing the Women of the Future initiative, which is something, as you know, Kenneth, I love talking about, and it's something that's very, very close to my heart. So, coinciding with my progression to where I am today, I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit. I've had my own businesses, and I've always been able to do that along with being a mother and trying to multitask and do, the best I can do with trying to, keep these different assets or facets of my life together.
Wow, that is so amazing. And when you say, right, you're like a mother of three, and you are now heading this initiative, and I'm just curious, like why in this edition, right, like you guys choose to feature male advocate. I'm just curious because this is a question that I've been keeping it to myself and I haven't got a chance, and I believe that maybe you can share with us why in this Women of Future, although you're featuring 100 women, why are you guys also featuring the male advocate or male allies?
That's a really good question, and I think it's something that's really core to the principle of Women of the Future. And what we're trying to do is address diversity, address equality, address inclusivity, and we wouldn't be doing that if we over-indexed on women only. So what we want to do, or what we are striving to do, is have this collaborative approach that has the celebration of these 100 women, but all the men that really support this initiative. We are 50% of the demographic on the planet, and we believe in collaboration. So having voices like yours and a number of other male voices that recognize the importance for equality and inclusivity really helps support our initiative.
Wow, and when you share that, right, initially I was like, okay, that's really really where I stand also, because I believe that both genders, both male and female, we should come together. And that is also the reason why for my organization or for whatever I'm doing, I always believe in coming together to build a better world, because like you say 50-50, right? When we all come together, we become 100%. And maybe you can share with us, I know that you have been always in the professional line, and what get you started in this entrepreneurial journey? I started this initiative, and now it became a business by itself.
That's exactly it. In the publishing world, we were focusing a lot on business to business communication, on innovation and entrepreneurship, and that's fundamentally what we were doing. And then Women of the Future really came to be by a happy accident. It was a meeting of the right people at the right time coming together and going, we know that there are so many women out there that are doing incredible things, but they don't have that platform. Their stories are not being told. So how do we empower young girls to recognize the opportunities that lie ahead for them? How do we position women as role models for them? And this is an opportunity to do that. Storytelling is one of the best unifiers in the world. It's a platform as old as time itself. And I think that's what we do. We take these stories of these women who've achieved success, who've overcome obstacles, we package them so that it's a nice, light, inspirational read, and we take that to the market, which really, allows the platform to be born. So it was a project that evolved over time. It was a meeting of the right minds. We launched it last year, and it was a bit of a test. We weren't quite sure how it was going to, be accepted. And we were blown away by the response. We gained so much momentum. We were looking for the top 100 women. We got over 550 nominations from across the globe. We had representation from, 6 continents, 25 countries, a multitude of cities. So it really took on a life of its own. And it's now become a bit of a movement. People know it, they like it, they want more. So we're excited this year to be rolling out the second edition of the Global Women of the Future. And we're also going into certain regions. There are regions that have got great stories to tell. So we're also, going to take it into that, break it down a little bit and go into certain regions that have got stories of their own with their unique flavor and culture.
Wow. Now when you shared it, it was like you guys have 500 over application, right? Nomination for your first edition, right? And now you guys are going for second edition. And that's why I'm even more excited. Like just now, I think before our call, right? Before we go live, I was talking about, I already have like 2 names for your second edition. And while we were talking, I have the third name, because this time around you guys are looking for women in emerging tech. So maybe you can talk about, like, what do you mean by emerging tech, especially for those who are new to this term?
So emerging tech is broad by definition. Our first book focused primarily on Web3 and the metaverse. And while we know that that's important, we wanted to sort of take a step back and look at emerging tech holistically. And emerging tech really is any new or evolving technology. And this space moves fast. Last year, everybody was talking about Web3 and the metaverse. That's shifted slightly now. We started this year, everybody was talking about AI. And in the last week, there have been talks about how do we stop AI, or how do we how do we redirect AI? So we know that the space moves really fast. So emerging tech really is a catch-all for any technology that has the potential to have a positive impact on our future. And it's not in the tech sector exclusively, it's tech that enables positive outputs across a variety of different sectors, from healthcare to education to entertainment to design, the ability to really use technology for positive impact.
Well, I hear that you keep emphasizing on the word impact. So it seems that the technology and impact is really have that connection, right? So is that the reason why you guys want to feature women in tech, women in emerging tech, women having an impact in the world? Is that one of the objective that you guys set out for?
It is one of our biggest objectives, is we want to make a positive difference. So, I think if you look back in time, something like the Industrial Revolution, which really changed our world fundamentally, and set us on this path. And I think we're sort of on the precipice of something as big now with what's happening with these emerging techs. And that the emerging tech that is coming out now, that is being spoken about, really has the power to disrupt and shift the way life is held going forward. So we want to place an emphasis on using that emerging tech for good, to have a positive impact on our lives today and our future generations. Your audience is very much mothers, and I think we all look at the future through the lens of our children. And if we can, use what we have to make a positive impact that's going to create a better tomorrow, then that's something that we need to talk about, and that's something that needs to be celebrated.
Yeah, I like that part when you say impact to create to have a better tomorrow, right? And I think this is very close to my audience, which are mothers, and this is something I always talk about. That why mothers should be entrepreneurs so that they can create a better future for themselves and for their children's children, meaning passing it down like a legacy, right? And when you talk about technology, talking about impact, right? It's really generation down the road. And just now you talk about industrial revolution, in the very beginning, right? And and that is also something that we talk about. When we talk about the future, we can't forget about talking about the past.
Right.
So maybe because our topic of this episode is women of the future, right? So before we can talk about that, right, we need to talk about the women of the past and present, right? So maybe you can share with us, like, how was it like in your lens, like women in the past, and then we talk about the present.
Okay, great. Well, I think before we can sort of look at women of the past, we need to understand what we mean by gender equality. And gender equality is really sort of equalizing the playing field. And for me, a more equal society means a more empowered society. And a more empowered society gives you economic freedom. And as soon as you have that economic freedom, you can start addressing the fundamental issues that exist in the world. Things like domestic violence and child abuse and poverty alleviation and all of that. So, gender equality really is the first block in helping a number of societal issues that sort of roll out from that. So when you look at it through the lens of what we're trying to achieve, and you look back at where we've come, we've come a long way. We've still got a long way to go, but we certainly have come a long way. And I think, the women in the past have really, got us to where we are today. They laid the foundation for that. I think the difference between the women of the past and the women of today, there have always been these pioneering women. They've always been these women that are sort of, are change makers, that are out there. In the past, it was difficult for their stories to get out because we lived in a narrow caste world. Whereas now technologies enabled us to share these stories. So in the past, you do hear about women in the past who wrote under pseudonyms. If you look at the world of technology, some of the very first computer coders were women. If you look at astrophysics or aeronautics, there were some very influential women in those spaces. But nobody really knows about them, or they're very isolated cases. And I think that's because we didn't have the amplification available to us that we have today. So, we look back, we recognize that women have always had a lot to contribute. They've always been suppressed, or in the past they were suppressed because of legacy issues and societal norms. But they paved the way for where we are today. And I think, that escalated with the suffragette movement that we saw happening in the US and the UK. In the 60s and 70s, there was a big move towards women empowerment. And, fast forward to where we are today, and we're certainly in a way better place than we were. We know that women are entering the workforce. We know that women are being recognized for their role. But if you start unpacking the stats, they're still very disproportionate. Even in a market like Singapore, where you are, which is one of the most progressive markets, I think only 14% of CEOs in Singapore are female. In Canada, a very progressive market where I am, less than 10% of CEOs are female. If you look at the S&P 500, 94% of CEOs in those organizations are male. So there's still a significant disproportion towards male leadership. And I think, that's fundamental to where we need to go, because whilst we're seeing a lot of women entering the workplace, where we need to see that representation is where decision making is happening. They need to be on the board. They need to be making those decisions so that you get that representation and that diversity of thought that then trickles down through organizations.
Yeah, I like the part where you talk about representation, right? Because even for the space I'm in, right, like in mompreneurship, right, there's very little representation of like a very successful mom who've been juggling with a lot of businesses, and they are not being highlighted or being showcased, as because for what I understand from like mompreneurs, right, when they are so caught up with their business, or some of them are running multiple businesses, or they have maybe 3 to 4 kids, right, their time are maxed out. And a lot of time they want to help another moms, but they do not have that. They do not want something in return, or they don't want to be um, seen as really really high profile, really out there. But I believe that when you talk about role models, right? Even for our children need role models. Even like recently, Michelle Yeoh, she won the Oscar as the for the actress, the best actress, and it just bring light to Asia, right?
Right.
Asia, and especially Malaysian. And this is something that we need. We are seeing the wave, that all this representation, Asian representation or women representation, are picking up, and we are seeing more and more of this. And now with you guys coming in to pave the wave, to talk about women of the future, the response that you guys had just from this initiative, it became a movement, and now it became a business that you can empower even more women, with what you guys are doing. So when we talk about all that movement, the objective and having that right, we also talk about, when we had in our previous call, we talk about the past. So how was it like women in the past that is, compared to the present?
I think women in the past were had a lack of opportunity. They were always expected to take on this homemaker, caretaker, mother role first. And if they were able to do anything else, it was pretty much at a low level. And that was always under the fact that they were getting paid less than their male counterparts and all of that. And I think we've made good progress in getting women to where they are today, where it is recognized, like you were saying, where a woman can multitask, and women do that exceptionally well. We can be good moms, and we can be entrepreneurs, and we can be leaders, and we can be pivotal in our communities, and we can do all of that really well. One of the things I always think about is that old saying is, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. And who's busier than a woman? The more you throw into these women, the more they do it. I think one of the things that really stands out to me is when I've spoken to, and I had the privilege of speaking to almost every single one of those women in our previous book, and a lot of them come at their success saying things like, I got lucky, it was a happy accident, somebody gave me the opportunity, and they don't own their success. And I think the women of today are beginning to recognize that they can own their success, that what they achieve is because of them, not because somebody gave them an opportunity. It's all about that. And we hear a lot about women suffering from imposter syndrome. You don't hear about that with men very often, and I think it's because men inherently have that confidence. They've got all of the stuff. They go in, they own it, they take control. Where the women are slightly apologetic, and we are seeing, and I'm generalizing because we are seeing a bit of a shift, but I think the women of today are owning their success, and they realize that they can have both, and that they are equal partners in their marriages, in their work environments, in society as a whole.
Yeah, when you talk about own their success, right? It's the same when I talk to mompreneurs. For example, like example, when I invite them on my show, right? They say, "Oh, I'm not good enough, to be on the show. I'm nobody. I'm just a mom." So they are how should I, is it called, playing it low,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they are not playing it big enough. And when I start to recognize their achievement, I say, you have like 3 kids and you're running 2 businesses, you're now feeding so like 20 to 40 staff, right, employees, right?
Right.
You are doing an amazing job. I was like when she start to look back, she start to think back, yeah, in fact, I'm right. I say you should give yourself a pat on the shoulder, right? A lot of times because they are so caught at the moment, they didn't really look at what they have achieved.
That's
and
so
and they
true.
felt, because it's all coming from the heart to really want to do something they're passionate about. There's a huge purpose of helping people, right?
Mhm.
So when you are a giver, right, you don't really think about rewards. You don't think about yourself. It's always about others. This is what I like about women, especially mothers. It's always about others, always about their kids, other people's kids, other mothers, not themselves, right? They will care about the whole world. I think this point, like you mentioned, right, women of the present, right, they are seeing their achievement, they are owning their success, and moving forward. What is it like, for when we talk about the women of the future? So what is it like, to be women of the future?
Well, I think that's a really loaded question, because I think, the women of the future is just packed with opportunity. But, for us, when we look at, what we're looking for when we try and find these next 100 women of the future, and, that phrase is nuanced because there are so many women doing incredible things. But I think that, a woman of the future really is somebody that recognizes their contribution and, utilizes the tools that they have and the tech that they have to make a positive impact and own it and, move forward. If you look at the past, oftentimes women historically, because there were so few opportunities for women in the corporate world, they would push other women down in order to get their own success. Whereas now I think there's that recognition that everybody, there's room at the table for everybody. So by sharing our stories, we can take everybody along for the ride. And there's this more collaborative approach. And I think, moving into that women of the future, it's recognizing that the sense of community, the sense of collaboration, that everybody's moving towards this common goal, which is creating a better life for us, creating a better life for our children, leaving a positive legacy. And, if we succeed, everybody succeeds. So it's sort of that unified approach to, to the future.
Yeah, when you talk about the future, I realize that the opportunity is given, right, when there's two things. Number one is education, right? When education goes, that means it basically put men and women on the same level. Like in Singapore, right, both men and women who have the equal opportunity to study. So that's why in Singapore we have one of the highest, especially in Asia, one of the highest equality, like about
Right.
40%, I would say. And that kind of bring us to that equality, nearer to that equality. But when technology comes in, right, definitely, like we know that a lot of guys are males are on tech, but I'm seeing more and more women coming into tech. Like you guys have features 100, even have 500 applicants for the first edition, and that shows that in fact there are a lot, but they are not being there's no platform to be really feature them and really to showcase them, their stories, what they have done, what are the impact they have done. So I think these are really great stories. Like you talk about storytelling, right? These are great stories that we should start talking about it. And that is also the reason why I started this podcast, Mompreneur Space, to really feature every single mompreneur that is out there, because they themselves, they will not want to say, okay, I'm good at this and that, but being recognized by
Right.
me, to be able to bring up their story to inspire another mom who's also in that crossroad trying to find their way out, because in their life they may not have that role models. And what you guys are doing for women of the future is just planting that visual representation that they are women of the future. Like the women is going to craft a better future, or craft the future for themselves, not just for themselves but for the whole world. And because of education itself, right, is really, like you look at countries who introduced education to both gender, you can see that
Mhm.
is pretty much bridging that gender equality. But for developing countries where education are not given to mass majority of the women, that's where you see that women do not have that platform. Women are not able to speak up. And I'm now seeing a lot of women who has that opportunity to study abroad, and they went back to their country which is developing,
Right.
and they became the leaders of the country. So now talking about tech, right, with tech coming in, do you see that tech is also doing the same thing as what education has done for us?
Yes, I think fundamentally it does. I've always believed that education and communication are two things that can pretty much solve any problem. You don't know what you don't know. So you need somebody to come and tell you that. And I think a large part of what we're trying to do is to showcase these stories that haven't been told. If you look at the children of today who are looking at what they're going to do in the future, a lot of the jobs that they're going to have haven't even really been created today. So what we're trying to do is bridge that divide between, where am I going to go and how am I going to get there? And we try and position these role models. So there's 100 role models in our book, and there's going to be another 100 and another 100 and another 100. So if you're a young girl or even a young boy and you know that you want to go into the healthcare field, technology is your way to get there. So I think technology and the rapid growth of that space really it provides that bridge to get from where we are today to a better future for tomorrow. And fundamentally, all of our kids should be learning coding, should be understanding the principles of that. We should be guiding our children programs, because that is grounded in all disciplines going forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, and talking about that, because I'm a parent myself, a 14-year-old, I have a lot of
Yeah.
friends, but that, how should I put it, that mindset shift, right, is really, really hard, right? Because the parents are not embracing technology. The parents do not know what is NFT, what is metaverse, what is Web3. We don't talk about social
Mhm.
media, right? So a lot of us are just consumer of the tech, but to really be out there to really understand what is in for our children, like the current traditional education, the what they are they are educating our children in the next 3 to 5 years. The jobs may be
Right.
obsolete. Like now we see a lot of new jobs that is being created with AI
Mhm.
coming on. There will be a lot of jobs being disrupted. And there's a saying, right? AI will not replace you, but the person that embrace AI will
Right.
replace you, right? So parents, a lot of them, like we know, like you talk about, like last month, a lot of people are just banning AI and chat GPT and all that stuff. But at the same time, when I look back, right, when we look back into the latest technology, we talk about digital photography, right? Because I used to own a family business. We are in the analog
Okay.
photography. So we have Photoshop that help people to develop the film, the negative into photos, right? So that was that. And when digital photography came in, it basically
I'm
killed
sure.
Kodak.
Yeah.
It basically disrupt the whole photography
Right.
business. But never having said that, right, it also created a lot of jobs in the digital space, right? Like digital photography, and it gave us so much wonder.
Mhm.
And now with our mobile phone, we are able to take photos, right? So that has evolved and created even more jobs that in the past nobody would even imagine that you can snap 1,000 or 10,000 shots in using
Right.
one camera, right? So now it has all changes, all that. So what do you see, right, for parents, especially for mothers, to really keep updated or have that mindset shift? What would you say to them, for
I think
parents?
get educated. Don't be afraid of technology. I think it's going to come no matter what. So we've got to embrace it. We've got to do our best to understand it. And we've got to use it for positive good. I think, the downside of tech is you're always going to have bad players. And we need to make sure that we are as informed as we possibly can so that we channel that in the right direction. But I don't believe you can stop this sort of tsunami of tech that's coming our way. I'm excited by it. I think the opportunity that it gives is unbelievable. And in the publishing world, just in the last 6 months, our business has shifted completely because of all these progressions with AI. It's exciting, and exactly what you say. If you don't jump on board, you're going to get left behind. And somebody who embraces it is going to take over your job. So it's less about technology replacing you, but it's more about those early adopters that are going to step into your shoes. So understand it, speak to professionals about it. The internet has got such a depth of knowledge on there. Watch some videos, but just don't be afraid of it. I think you've got to embrace it.
Yeah, I think just now you point out is to really embrace it and get educated, but get educated from people who are doing it. Like for you and me, who are embracing it, who are doing, we are practitioner. We are connected with people who are in the tech
Right.
industry, rather than your friend who know nothing about tech, not
Yeah.
doing anything about tech, and you ask him or her, and it's just going to be um, from bad to
Right.
worse, right? You're not getting better.
Correct.
So I guess how to really be able to embrace is first to to really have that open mind, to start educating yourself, even to really search for information about it, or even ask your kids. Our children are even
Right.
more savvy than us. Like my daughter, if you ask her anything, you cannot presume that they do not know
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of things. In fact, they know a lot of things. It's just that if you never ask, they will not they will never say. Like that day I was asking, oh darling, do you know what is NFT? Yeah, I
Yeah.
know about NFT. my friend also, like my friend, your friend, like 14 years old, an NFT. I was like,
It's
wow.
amazing.
So it's amazing how fast they are picking up because they are born in that era, right? They are the Gen Z, and eventually we have the generation Alpha and Beta coming along. So I think it's really to understand where they are going in, and also where technology is bringing in them. And you talk about the jobs, right? Like 15 years ago, social media manager, this job
Fun.
does not exist, right? And now it's a legit job. Like every
Yeah,
company has one social media manager or a digital
right.
marketer, right? And this job is created because of the digital economy. And the next economy that what me and my team were talking, there will be new jobs that will be created in that. So talking about all this future, right? What would you say that it could be like a future job that you think that will be created because of this new economy?
So I think I mean, that's a really interesting question. And I think that there will be many. And I think you probably need to drill down into each discipline to do that. But, what's exciting to me is if you look at something like healthcare, fundamentally, that's one of the areas where gender equality is at its worst. In a lot of developing countries, women don't even have basic access to healthcare. And I think XR and AR type technology, the metaverse, those kind of technologies really have the ability to bring healthcare to people sitting in rural environments where you could have access to a doctor sitting somewhere else. And your barrier to entry is really just a mobile phone. So, and mobile phone penetration, I think, is close to 88 or 89%. So, I think that there's a lot of opportunity in those type of areas. And I think what we'll see is a lot of remote working or remote resourcing to address the basic inequalities that exist on our planet across various disciplines.
Well, I like the part when you say the remote resources, right? And also remote working and all that. That will be something that even for industrial, everything will be maybe have a digital twin where they can
Right.
operate, whether it be male or female. You can always educate them. As long as are opportunity, there are even male allies that is giving this opportunity to women, especially in developing countries,
Right.
and so that everything can be on par. All right.
Mhm.
So what would you say would be the challenges for women in general that they are facing today, and how you guys, women of the future, can help these women?
I think the biggest challenge is that women, need to celebrate other women. We need to celebrate the success that we have. So, and that's what we try and do at Women of the Future. We're all about finding those women who are making a difference, who are making the positive change we want to see in the world, and telling their story. So we encourage everybody to get in touch with us, to nominate yourself, nominate your peers, nominate your colleagues, and tell us about these incredible stories so that we can give them a platform to shine. And the Women of the Future is more than just the book. It's this beautiful hardcover book, but it's got a lot of digital assets. We're going to be launching a video series and podcast in June. So there's a lot of opportunity to amplify those kind of messages. And we're even going into the event space, and we'll be hosting some webinars. So what we want to do is we want to find these women that are doing great things, and we want to give them that platform to shine and inspire other women so that we sort of really helping influence the next generation that comes through. And hopefully in 25 years' time, when we're doing this, we've got a whole new breed of women that are taking over, that have got a different perspective and a more equal perspective.
Yeah. I like the part where you say you're just creating the whole breed of women that is going to take over this space. I would say take over this space. I would say be a part of this space that
Right.
that 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 they can do things that is really impactful, that is
Mhm.
bringing maybe the world together to make the world a better place, and also embracing, right, the inclusivity of including men, women all together to come and build a better world. Because we have seen how we can have one side to lead, right? But what if we have both sides that is coming together to lead, to have that balance, to have that diversity at the same time? Because all of us have different strengths, different traits. We can help even more people, right? Like 50 plus 50, we have 100. So this is where I see that we can go forward from today. So at the same time, what is your word for those who want to step into this women of the future, what would you say to them if they want to be one of the women of the future?
I think, tackle everything with intention. Know what you want to achieve when you come out of it. So I think intentionality is really important. And given where we are, we live in this very polarized world. We're dealing with a lot of real life issues. Climate change is a big issue, food scarcity, economic disproportion. There's a lot of issues facing the world. And I think if you want to come into this and you want to be one of the women of the future who are making a change, you need to come into the space with the intention of making a change. Find what you're good at, find what you're passionate about, find the technology or the people that can help you get to that, and start doing. And the results will come to you. And I think it's also really important to bear in mind that there is a lot of support. There are a lot of women out there that are putting themselves forward for mentorship. It's so easy to speak to and connect with people right now. So you are not alone. Find your journey and find the people that are going to support you on that journey, and then go in that direction.
Yeah, and you said something that is very important. I want to um, really highlight that you are not alone. There are a lot of people that are there to help you,
Right.
and it's okay to ask for help, right? And
Exactly.
yeah, because if you don't ask, people will not want, well, people will not know that you need help. And in fact, there are a lot of people who want to help you, as long as you give them the permission. So I think like now in today's era or generation with the technology, I believe that there's a lot of ways for you to achieve what you want to achieve. If you have an idea to make the world a better place, be it in tech, be it with education, be it with just the intention, or with the resources, like coming onto Women of the Future. You can go through edition one, who are that 100 amazing women. Get inspired. Definitely, you can get something out from it. So at the same time, we talk about the nomination, right? So maybe Sue, can you share with the audience how can they nominate someone, or what are that candidate that you guys are looking for?
So we are looking for women that are making a positive difference using emerging technology. And, like I've stressed, it's across any discipline, as long as there's sort of an aspect of technology or emerging or evolving technology that's being utilized. So in order to nominate yourself or somebody else, go to womenofthefuture.com. There's a nominate tab. You'll be able to go through a quick and easy nomination form. And what we have on our books, we have a board of trustees. So our voting process to select the top 100 is very democratic. We have a board of trustees, and their job, along with our leadership team, is to go through all of the submissions and find those people that really are making that positive difference. And yeah, it's as easy as that. Just nominate. If you want to get in touch with me or a member of our team directly, we have a Women of the Future page on LinkedIn. You can reach out via that. You can reach out to me at Sue Rooney on LinkedIn. And yeah, let's just get those nominations coming in, and every single nomination will be addressed. You will hear back one way or another, and we look forward to it. Nominations close on May 10th, so we've got.
I was about to ask, like, it will close at May
Yeah,
10,
that's
right?
right.
Okay, let me just write it so I can. Okay, May 10. So this time around, you guys are also looking for 100, right? For 100 amazing
Correct.
women in
Yeah,
emerging tech.
exactly that. Yeah.
Good.
And across all disciplines, it's really important to stress that this is not just women in tech. This is women using tech for a variety of different results, and so it's very impact focused. It's about delivering a better tomorrow for our future generations.
Yeah, and you talk about like women using emerging tech. It's not necessary that it has to be tech. It could be using a form of technology. For example, just now I was sharing with you that I have a friend who's using has this technology, or this machine, basically can shred all the plastic and make them into
Yeah.
bricks, so that they can build houses for the poor, for the less privileged people, right? So this is also considered one of women in
Right,
emerging tech.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really good example. It's using tech that is available to, solve a real world problem that's got tangible results. So that's a great example. And
Mm.
it's not only
Yeah,
in,
and
sorry to interrupt you, it's not only in
no
those kind
problem.
of things, but it's also in the more lighthearted aspect, design, fashion, photography, entertainment, anything
Mm.
that's providing a better landscape for us to work and live in.
Yeah. So basically, innovation, not necessarily in technology, because innovation is considered one of the emerging tech that I'm hearing from you,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's, as long as it's grounded in some tech that's providing a better future, that's what we're looking for. So it's inspiring
Yeah.
women who've got a good story to tell, that are prepared, that are able to position themselves as mentors or role models for future generations.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that is also the key, like being role models, being the leader for tomorrow, right? Yeah. So coming back to you, because you were saying that you are a mother of three, right? How are your kids?
I've got really big age gaps in my kids. So my oldest is 26, and then my youngest is 14.
Wow, wow. So for them, like, are they all girls or
No, I have
daughters,
one
son?
son. My oldest is a son, and then I have two daughters.
The daughters
Yeah,
are
they are. Yes.
younger one. Yeah. So when you are doing like this women of the future, right? How does your children react to that? Like, do they know like what mommy is doing and stuff
Very
like
much
that?
so. In fact, when we launched the first edition in Miami in December, I took my youngest daughter with me because I wanted her to be exposed to this.
Wow.
I wanted her to see this. That's why I'm doing it. And she met the most incredible people. And she actually met one of the women that was featured in the book. And she still talks about that today. She still says, what a positive experience. And I think, it's that whole
Wow.
thing about you're not going to change everybody's lives, but even every single life
Mm,
you impact has a difference. So I saw it play out in
yeah.
my family. My eldest daughter is a strong advocate for female empowerment, and she even gets upset when a man offers to carry her bag. And I have to explain to her that that's not all bad, that somebody's just being chivalrous. But they're very cognizant of the work that I do. And our household, my husband is very supportive of that too. We have a very equal household, and I think in our household, everybody understands that equality really is where it starts. And I think if
Mm,
you look at everything through the lens of equality, and it's not only gender, it's also race or age or whatever demographic
yep.
there is. If you come at it with this everybody's equal perspective, I think you're setting the groundwork for a better future, because there is no stigma, there is no inherent bias. It's just equal.
Yep.
There's only an upside, in my opinion.
Yeah, and when you say that, right, the word family comes to the picture. Like equality start from the family, start from
Right.
home, start from inside out, right? Because a lot of time we see a lot of people talk about equality coming from the outside, but they've forgotten that it tends to start from inside. It means from your home, from the people around you, from your close one, and that is also what makes me so passionate about empowering mothers with entrepreneurship. Let them know that in entrepreneurship they are able to balance both business and parenting, and who knows that they can even create a better life for themselves, for their children, or even for their children's children. And at the same time, because why do I ask that, right? Because of that impact, that you being a role model, you are introducing her with inspiring role model. You are walking the talk. You are just showing um, what role model meant a lot to all these
Mhm.
children, especially like I have a
Right.
14-year-old daughter. I recently introduced her, I think last year, end of last year, introduced her to someone who's very amazing. She's an artist herself, and she's now an NFT artist. And my daughter loved to draw, loved to illustrate, loved to create her own animation. And she saw her, she said, "Hey, I didn't know that there's someone," because in Singapore it's very rare to find a very promising artist or even a female
All right.
artist. So me able to use my network to be able to let her in contact with her, let her become her role model, inspiring role model. I think this is very important for our future generation to come,
It is,
right?
absolutely. I think that's really important. And I think, we often, in our space, we often sort of talk about the future generation of young girls, but I think it's young boys too. They need to grow up in an environment where they see women having equal opportunity, women succeeding as much as their male counterparts. And it's sort of, breeding the next generation where they don't see anything through the lens of color or age or culture or
Mm,
gender, just coming at it
yeah.
fresh. And I think that's really important too.
Yeah, I totally agree with that part where our children, when they look at their friends, the people around, they don't carry all this, right? they don't carry all these like I would say filters or labels and all that, because in their digital world, especially a lot of them are in the metaverse, they are communicating in the digital world. It doesn't really matter who is that person from the other side, right? It's about still going back to what we call fundamentally every one of us are
Yeah.
human beings, or what I call
Yeah.
earthling, right? Like we are, on planet
Right.
Earth, right? So we all belongs on this planet Earth. All of us are the same, right? So with internet, with technology, or even with education, I believe that there should not be any
Right.
barriers. Everybody should be the same. Like now, you on the other side of the planet, I'm in the future, right? Like at least 12 hours, 13 hours ahead. But that, because of technology that is connecting us together on this live stream. So I really, really would love to have you to share more, and maybe you can share with the audience how can they get connected with you, Shu.
So, like I said, the easiest way, womenofthefuture.com, there's a contact us form on there, there's a nominate form. That's really where it all starts and stops. So watch that space, and then sign up to get our newsletter, which you can do on our website as well, and follow our page on LinkedIn. We're very active on LinkedIn. That's our social media channel of choice. So all of the updates happen in that space.
Thanks a lot, Sue. And what would be your last advice for mothers? Because our audience are basically mothers, is aspiring mompreneurs. So, what would be your last advice for mothers who want to be the women of the future?
Just believe in yourself, get it done, be bold, celebrate your successes, and, put yourself out there. There's a lot of other people in your shoes.
Wow. Thanks a lot, Shu, for this amazing time, this session with you. I really enjoy knowing about Women of the Future, the initiative, and also and you guys are coming out with the new second edition. So for those who are interested to nominate yourself or even nominate your friends who are really amazing women in emerging tech, they are making an impact, you guys can always go to womenofthefuture.com/nominate. So do take note that it's ending on 10th of May. I will put the link and also the description and the deadline in the description of this live post. Okay, so once again, thanks, Shu, for making time. Amazing sharing from you, and be able to let us know what is upcoming that you guys are doing and what women can look forward in the future. So thank you, everyone, and also thanks for those who are tuning in live, or even for those who are watching the replay. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and I shall see you guys next week for a new whole episode of Mompreneur Space live show podcast. Once again, thanks, Shu, and I see you guys next week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.